Thanks for joining. This is live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is the Rabbi Yossi Harlig from the Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest and Friendship Circle. Rabbi, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Great being here once again. Miss seeing you. Did you put it on Facebook for me?
We're talking to Andres. We're
talking to Andres. Yes.
Yeah, he's gonna hook us up here.
Thank
Way
you.
to go!
Oh, I gotta put the code. Okay, come. I'll put the code on. Yes.
Here we go.
I'll put the code on. All right. Okay.
All right. So make sure you're talking to the mic, and we're ready to rock. Okay.
Yes.
So here we are.
First of all, you're looking younger. You're looking.
I've been happily married most of the time to my wife of 39 years. All right. And got two great grandkids. And they keep us rocking and rolling.
So what are the most important qualities of having a happy marriage? What do you think? 39 years. You're ahead of me. I'm married 27 years.
So
what
did
you say? I'm asking you. You're married 39 years.
Yes, dear. Happy wife is a happy life, right? And I think one of the things is I was discussing with my shrink 35 years ago. I said, I'm not sure. Should we have separate bank accounts? Should we have the same one? Do I have one? She has one, then we have one. He said, separate but united. All right?
Correct.
So there we are.
Right.
So here we are. Tell us what is going on at Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest and Friendship Circle.
Oh, this is a very, very exciting time. We moved down in 1995. And in 2002, we moved onto our property on 87th Avenue and 112th Street. At that time, we only had a Chabad center. And in 2004, we opened up the organization of Friendship Circle. And then I started thinking to myself, one day we may want to expand our programs and we should expand the property. So we bought a property right behind us. So then we went from 112th Street all the way to 114th Street. And when I bought that property, I said, one day may want to expand and build a bigger place.
What year was that?
2004. And I remember when we were going for a mortgage and we were trying to raise some money, people said, Rabbi, you barely need this property. Why are you getting a second one? I said, you never know. You got to think ahead. Fast forward, we started this other organization called the Friendship Circle, where it helps children with special needs. And in 2011, 12, 13, we started zoning. And it was, we lost zoning, then we won the zoning. And then we were on a fundraising campaign. And as time went on, it got more and more expensive to build this facility. And today we're building a 20,000 square foot facility campus. It's called the Friendship Campus. And we were looking to raise another about $4 million. We raised already over $5 million. And what the exciting news is in the beginning of December, you were there. Actually, I have a picture of you. Remind me at the end of the program. You were there. We had the groundbreaking. And actually, a month ago, we actually started taking down the buildings. And
I saw some videos on the Chabad's Facebook page.
Yes.
With hats and the machine, whatever it is, they started to take apart the building. You said something significant there as we're looking to this place with so many memories there. And that was my first introduction as an adult to Judaism. All right. I know people find that hard to believe, but it was. All right. And I wind up meeting you there. So I thought about all the times I'd been there over the years. And my wife spent a lot of time there for Saks. I'd been there and some friends. So there it is. All of a sudden, it went from this building where people practiced their religion and camaraderie, and the kids were out there. And you said something significant as it was being taken apart. You want to share that with us?
Yeah. So for me, I was standing there. We asked them, could we be there when they actually start taking down the building? It was last week, Monday, I think it was. And then people asked me, what was your reaction? Because you don't know how you're going to react until you're there. And you see the tractor coming, and some of our donors were there to start taking out the first piece. And people said, did you feel bad? All those memories are gone and everything is gone. So I said two things. First of all, a building in Jewish tradition, you can't take down a synagogue or a building that houses worship or prayer or friendship circle. You can't destroy it. The only way you can take it down is if you're going to build something even bigger and nicer there. So really, this building coming down wasn't a destruction. It's really the first step of building a place. The second thing is what makes a place so special is not the walls. It's what happens in the walls. Let's take this room, for example. What makes this room so special is the conversations that we have in this room. If, God forbid, these walls are gone, it's still, what happened in this room still happens. So all those prayers that you said your wife participated, and Farrah Sachs participated, and other people participated, and the friendships that happened, a friendship circle, that energy is always going to remain there. The other point that I was thinking then, it was very emotional for me because how often does it happen that you have a vision and a goal 18 years before, that one day we're going to build a facility here, and now that mission, that dream is actually happening, and you think about so many trials and tribulations had to get to that point, yet we stayed focused. We had a mission. We realized how important this facility is going to be. We realized how many lives are going to be impacted by it. And we said, we got to make it done. And along the way, a lot of naysayers said, you'll never raise the money, you'll never get the zoning, and all the things along the way. And that's when I stood there, wow. We had this vision in March 2004. It was actually when we bought the second property, in March 2004. And we didn't give up. And we stayed it. And it teaches you in life, if you believe in something and you believe something is important, and you stay focused and true to it, you'll eventually succeed.
There was something that some of your donors said to you when you went to them, when you wanted to buy the building, you asked them for help with the deposit. You remember that story?
Yeah, of course. So in 1997, we saw this property. We thought it was a great location, centrally in South Dade. It's right off US 1 between Pinecrest and Kendall. And I went to some people. It was at that time they were asking for $400,000 for that property. Remember those numbers? And I went to some of our donors and I said, could you help me with the deposit?
This now the site where Chabad
is right now.
Okay.
And I needed $10,000. And they say, Rabbi, if you can't afford $10,000, how are you planning to buy this property? I said, you have a good point, but you know what? I have faith in God. I have faith in the community. I have faith in my Rebbe. Let's go forward. We got to do our part and let the rest be as it may. And that's exactly what we did. I have a little secret for you. The second property we bought, I didn't even put up $1. I went over to a bank who at that time didn't want to give us a loan. I went over to a donor in the community. I said, could you give us a loan? We'll pay interest to buy this property. And they gave it to us. And we were able to buy it right then. So for us, this was, going in and believing that you're able to pull it off. Look, right now, right now, we still need to raise a little over $4 million. And we're getting a loan from the bank. But I believe now getting our donors that believe in the cause, believe in the friendship circle, believe in the Chabad, believe in what we're going to be able to do, what we need to do. And we have county support. We have the mayor, the commissioners, the state. We're going to get it done.
So back then, you had this thought and a vision of having that something go on there. Did you, in your mind's eye, sort of create what it might look like then?
No. I just knew that there's such a demand and a need in the community for what we do. And if we're going to build something and make it more comfortable for people, they're going to be interested in being able to be serviced from us. And I said, property is hard to find properties, and hard to find good property. We got to find the second property because we're going to need more room. And I just believed in it. I believe it'll get done.
15 years ago, I was on a committee in one of the local cities, and this board, the purpose of the board was to be able to put together a plan for a community center.
Okay.
The group said, where are we going to get the money for that? And one of the guys, Simon Codrington, who I just spoke to the other day, said, forget where we're going to get the money. Let's put together the plan. Sure enough, the plan got together. They got somebody to drop the plans. They went to the federal government and they gave them the money. Without that vision, right, lots of things don't happen. And when we think about the visionaries in our lives, people, like Elon Musk, who's certainly changed the world in his thought. And what sort of like nut guy flies a car and flies it around the world? The same guy that says, I think we can change the world, right? And think back 20 years ago or 30 years ago. One day you'll be using less fuel. You can be using batteries on your roof, right? And on your driving your cars around. And so it does take a vision to do that. What made you think back then that the friendship circle could be so effective in this community?
Right. So when we started the friendship circle, we really started it not because of helping special needs kids. Got to be honest. So we heard about the program from a colleague of ours in Michigan who started this program. You get teenage volunteers to help children with special needs. We were trying to figure out a way, how do you engage teenagers? That's what we're trying to figure out. How do we gain teenagers? Because they're the future. The children are the future and the teenagers are the future. And they said, start this program. They would be interested in this. We started this program. But then once we started the program and we realized how it's impacting the teenager's life, then we also realized, wow, there's a whole segment of the community that nobody knows about. There's a whole segment of the community that the families are embarrassed and uncomfortable and isolated and stressed out, and no one is there for them. Not nobody's a strong word. There are some organizations that started getting involved. Till today, when I get up and talk about special needs, I spoke with one of the commissioners numerous times. They said, you're one of the first people to talk about special needs. Usually they talk about affordable housing and ADA, but the special needs community was really very, very underserved. And not only that, the parents would not feel comfortable showing up to the park or going on the plane.
I think that's that. It's not a stigma, but imagine if you had some big growth on your face and you said, hey, I don't want everybody to look at me and see that, so I'm going to stay a little bit isolated. I'm going to stay at home, or I'm going to look a different way, or I'm not going to go out as much. So I'm sure there were parents at some point or another to where they were very hesitant and bringing and helping their children go out and be public. But so friendship circle helps the children and the siblings of the children and the parents.
Correct.
And then that grows to a neighborhood, that grows to a community.
Correct.
So you have volunteer teenagers from local schools that help,
Yes.
right? And they can get community hours.
Correct. That's the first reason why they start, is for the community hours.
Yes.
Or for a bar and bat mitzvah project. But once they start doing it, you know how good it feels to know that you can make a difference in somebody's life. People who made lots of money say the greatest feeling they have, more than making millions of dollars, is knowing they impact a person's life. And here we have teenagers on a daily basis telling them, you matter, you could change someone's life, and they feel it. So that's why for them, not only they're changing that particular person's life, but these kids are affecting their life because they realize, I'm mattered, I'm needed.
I hear this term pay things forward. I'm not sure if I subscribe to that, because that's sort of like you think that you have to do it. But I want to share, right around Christmas time, I had 5 gifts in the front seat of my car, plastic bags. And it was really early in the morning, and I stopped at Salvation Army, see if I could leave them there. No. So I go to McDonald's down the street from here. And so I'm in the drive-in to get coffee. And the guy in front of me, I could see he wanted to get in front of me. So I waved him on. All right. Goes up. Okay. My turn I order the coffee, go to the next window. They say, the guy in front of you just paid for your coffee. I went, wow. And I got all these goosebumps thinking about that. Then I drive up. The first one was paid. Second window was to pick up the coffee. Little Hispanic lady. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm imagining her kids are at home. The husband's working, not working. I'm looking over and I got these gifts. I said, hold on a second. I reached over and I started giving her these gifts. Poppy, thank you. I said, hold on one second. Then I bent over from the driver's seat to the passenger floor on the other side, which was a miracle, and picked up the 5th one. And that all happened because somebody paid for my coffee. And it's like, and I was so moved by it. And so here, this one little gesture, and I was wondering in that morning what I was going to do with them. And there was that moment of being able to give freely. And so here I am now, 4 months later, talking about that. So these kids, the teenagers, when they help these other young people, they must really feel very fulfilled that they've been able to do that. So not only does it help the children that are there and their parents, it also helps that person that feels good and be able to share that with others. I'm not sure what you did during the pandemic, but you also recognize the students for helping out. Tell us about that and when your next one of those is going to be.
Right. So at the end of the year, we have, just like, people like to thank donors for giving money, or politicians for whatever, fighting for your cause. These teenage volunteers are changing these special needs kids' lives, and the parents and the whole family. And not only they change their lives at the program, but then later they go to college, these teenagers, these volunteers, or they're in other parts of their life, and they go into that. A lot of them go into the special needs field, or they reach out and help those kids, or they're able to be an advocate for that community. So they do so much for it. So at the end of the year, we do an evening where we give thanks to the teenage volunteers for what they do to make a difference. But it's interesting. If you bring them into their studio, you don't prep them. You ask them one by one, tell me how this program, what does it mean to you? Most of them will say it does for me more than I do for the other person, and how it, changes my life.
I believe I was at one of your events in which I think it was a Friendship Circle event. Your lovely wife ran the program, and now I know why you guys are so successful. All right, and the kids were there with the parents. All right, there was to honor those kids. It was really extraordinary, and that was probably at least 5 years ago to see those kids so proud of what they were able to do, and the proud parents. Let's talk about the parents of the special needs kids. They must feel pretty good when they drop off their children, right? Or they go to pick them up. What's that like for them when they go and say, here's a place that we can feel comfortable and open with?
Yeah, I mean, everyone watching this show knows the greatest happiness and the greatest sadness we have is connected to our kids. When our kids are doing well, we're in seventh heaven. When our kids are struggling, it's challenging. If our kids are not accepted, it's very, very painful. Here is a group of kids that, and I'll tell you, the higher functioning is a bigger issue. The lower functioning, you may say they don't realize. You may think they don't realize, but higher functioning kids are sitting all alone in school, being ignored. One parent told me that a kid would walk around. If they want to go to point A and point B in school, they could walk through the lockers, which is a 20-second walk, but they wouldn't walk through the lockers because other kids would make fun of them. They would walk around the whole building, just not to feel that abuse. And they sitting all alone in the dining room. They're feeling they have no friends. They come home after day of school, and imagine how the parents feel. And they're like desperate. They go online searching, where could I find friends for my kids? And now they come to a place where not only they're accepted, they're embraced, they're loved, they're cherished. The kids are the stars there. The parents say, this is the first place I drop off my kids, and I feel comfortable, and I feel proud, and I feel happy for my kids' friendships.
One day I go to the doc, I wasn't feeling good, and he puts his arm on my shoulder. He says, how you doing? I said, you know what? I'm doing better now because somebody asked. So meanwhile, I was there, he worked up $1,000 worth of bills. But I realized at that moment, I needed somebody to ask me and to show that comfort. So when those kids and when the parents show up, they're there in a loving environment. And let's talk a little bit about Ukraine. I know it's a sad, sore subject for all of us. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so some of my colleagues run Chabad centers in Ukraine. And just imagine you are running a synagogue, running a school, running whatever it is, like a house of prayer, and that vibrant community. Some of them ran orphanages. Some of them ran big schools. And then overnight, not only you have to close down your building, you got to run with your own kids and your own family and leave town. Now, as a rabbi, as a spiritual leader, you feel you're responsible for your community. And the last thing you want to do is like a captain goes off last off the ship. You don't want to abandon the people when you know that people's lives are on the line. And literally, people are looking to leave the country. Thank God for Israel that they're bringing in all the Jewish people. Anyone, Jewish person that can make it, they will go there. But many of them lost everything. They literally ran out just with their suitcase, but they continued to stay connected to the community and doing everything they can, raising money, because it used to be to rent the bus for a day is $1,000, then it became $20,000, and they worked literally around the clock. Some rabbis stayed behind, even in the greatest danger, because they felt they have an obligation to take care of the old, the sick, the people that can't move. I have a Chabad rabbi who runs one of the biggest Jewish community centers in the world. And he's still in the building with a lot of the people because he said, who's going to take care of those people? His wife and kids left. And some of them left the country, but they're still working on the phones with people, volunteers in the community, to be there for the community. So this is heroic. Even though they lost everything, they're still staying involved in the community.
Approximately how many Chabad houses are there? Do you know?
In the world?
No, in Ukraine.
I think they said around 75.
Okay. By the way, so Ukraine has 44 million people. The state of Florida has 22 million. So it's just twice the size as Florida, right? And the neighboring countries, 2 to 3 million. Miami-Dade County is 3 million, right? That's a whole country. And so the threat to the Ukrainians and the area certainly is alive and well and dangerous for everybody. And my grandfather, as we discussed earlier, was from Ukraine, and that was my on my father's side. So I feel this connection, although I never thought about it much before. And I'm just imagining, and I've seen these pictures before from 80 years ago, where people just were thrown out to no fault of their own. It must be so terribly traumatic for these people just to leave without their husbands, all right, with the moms and their kids, and winding up in another country, probably never to go back, because what are you going to go back to, right?
There's a beautiful story I told you before they started the show, of during the Holocaust. There was a young Jewish woman that was taken in by a Christian family. And at that time, to take a Jewish family into your home is death by the Nazis. And she put her life on the line. And the lady survived the war, this Jewish young woman, and she went up to Israel. But she stayed in touch with this Christian family, with their family and their kids and grandkids. So when the war broke out a few weeks ago, the Jewish family that's living in Israel reached out to the Christian family in Ukraine and said, your mother saved us. Your grandmother saved our grandmother. Why don't you come to Israel? We'll take care of you. And I saw a picture of in the airport in Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion Airport, where they're both grandchildren are hugging each other. So a little to the point, you've done good in the past, and now they were able to save the grandchildren from that.
It's sobering just thinking about that. So who knows how this thing is going to end? All right, but it's not any good. All right, whatever's going to happen there. So tell us about the future of Chabad and Friendship Circle, what it looks like as far as community activities. Where are you doing your good work now?
Correct. So we have to move off the property for the good news, because we're building a new place. So I don't see the destruction of a building. I see a growth of a building. And, because of issues now with supply and prices going up and all the other good stuff, usually you should say it take about 16 months. He thinks it may take up to 2 years. So we got a location, so we had to rent a new place. So we rented, we're on 97th and US 1, the Jiffy Lube is just north of that, Eastern National Bank building. We're on the first floor. Over there, we do our services Monday and Thursday morning. We have our Torah class. We have our Shalom Epam Hebrew School. We also
can we put Andres? Can we put their website address across the bottom?
The website address or the location?
Well, your website address so people can find it from there.
Right. We have two websites: ChabadofKendall.org and FriendshipCircleMiami.org.
Okay.
ChabadofKendall.org. Yeah.
So you're over there on 97th.
And so we run our programs during the week. On Shabbos, our Sunday Friendship Circle program is too big to have it there. So we rented a school called Miami Learning Experience, MLE. They welcomed us in. So we're there on Sunday. And on Shabbat, we rent a place next to 87th and 112th.
So I was raised as a Unitarian, even though my parents and everybody prior to that was Jewish. And so my wife, after many years...
You're also Jewish.
What? Yes. And she is... Now when we have Shabbat dinner, I actually look forward to it. And now our grandchildren are doing part of the services. And if I say it wrong, which I inevitably do, he's there to correct me.
What do you love about it?
I like the connection with the family and knowing that generations before me have done the same thing at about the same time forever. I like that a lot. And there's the marked beginning of the event, which is we sit down and we're going to do this. And then I like to see my grandchildren dancing with their father, right? And there's a certain amount of discipline that goes with that. And it's certainly a lot of respect that happens here.
Also, it's the most people tell me this is that you feel like you're living in the moment. If you experience Friday night dinner, it's actually you're in the moment. No one's focused on anything else. You just focus on each other and you focus on your tradition. And that's a gift that anyone that starts doing it, everyone says the same thing. There's something that you would never want to give up.
Years ago, I went I was down in the Redlands at a farm. The same night I wound up at a neighbor's the next day at Chabad, and then the next day I wound up at a laboratory, and everybody only spoke Spanish. So in this 24 hours, I was experiencing a lot of Miami, right? And so there are many options for people as far as their religious activities. And if people live at the north end, there's Chabad not houses, but Chabad. They can find a place up there.
All over.
They're everywhere. They can go online. And if somebody wants to find out more about,
Yeah, you go on our website, chabadofkendall.org. You can put it on our Friendship Circle website, Friendship Circle Miami. So you can go on the website. Today's days, you got to have a website. That's where everyone goes.
and you do your own Facebook shows. When do you usually do this?
I usually do it on Thursday or Friday.
And they can go on. They can go to your Facebook page and see.
Yeah, send me a friend request, and yes, and they can
And people can go there and watch. You talk about life and
for a message of that week and whatever's on my mind, and whatever I think. It's funny. Whenever a week I say, you know what, nobody's even watching this. Why am I doing it? I'll always get a message from someone. By the way, that video I enjoyed.
And you were one of the chaplains for the Miami-Dade County Police Department.
Yes.
It was called the evening that the Surfside condos fell.
Right.
That was over the summer. You were there just about every day.
Correct.
So now, as you look back, how did that affect you?
You know, it really, and in two ways it affected. One way is that you were in a situation where so many people were so vulnerable and there was so much pain going on there that it gave you a realization that in any moment anything could change. And you have to appreciate your life and don't take anything for granted. Here you have, everybody, I just came back from Israel. Where are you from? Miami. Oh, Miami. Everyone loves Miami. So here you're in Surfside, overlooking the water. Everything goes great. And you understand, God forbid, plane crashes, and you understand accidents, but not laying in a building overlooking Surfside, where this is like overlooking the water. This is like the place everybody wants to be. And 122 you're alive, 124 you're dead. Who could have imagined something like that in a pile? And so I was there day in and day out. So you get to see and realize and live by that. You never take anything for granted. Every day is a gift, and you kind of experience that.
And Rabbi, people were expecting you to behave a certain way because you're a rabbi, a sense of strength and of support. Were there times where you said, "Man, I'm not holding up too well here. What do I need to do?"
One of the people asked me this question: how did you get training for such an event? And I said, it's training your whole life that you get the mission from the Lubavitcher Rebbe that anything you do is not there for yourself. This show that we're doing right now, it's not about for us. We want to say certain things that hopefully will inspire people that are listening to you. So in any situation you go into, you have to give a speech, you have to do a talk on the show, you have to give a class, you meet a person, you always have to ask yourself, what could I do to be there for that person? So as soon as that happened, I was never in a situation where I'm standing with a father and a mother and the kid is trapped in a building, they're screaming. What am I supposed to say? Do I pick out a verse from the Bible? What's the right word? And I was trained that, you got to be there for the people and know what they need and what they want. At that moment, what they need is a hug, and you just stand with them and don't say anything. That's what they need. Talking is actually going to make it worse. So kind of you go into it knowing right away, it's not about what Yossi Harlig has to say. So Yossi Harlig being in the moment and just standing there with them and hugging them and just feeling with them. And actually you get it from this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion talks about Aaron's children dying. Imagine Aaron, Moses' brother, was the biggest day of his life. They're finally dedicating the temple. Like he was waiting for that big moment, and two of his kids die. And the Torah tells, Vayidam Aaron was silent. In a moment when the pain is so great, silence and being there is really what's asked for.
So often when people that have died and you go to visit the family, there's that very awkward moment when they're standing in front of you. And what is it you're going to say? Could there be anything that would be right? I remember when I had some losses, people said stuff, what was 50 years ago? And I still remember it, all right? The feeling that I had. What do you know about that? Or you telling me? All right? So if you were going to give some advice to somebody walking up to somebody that was grieving, what could they say or what could they do?
That's an amazing topic, a question. Yeah, so we could do a whole show on that. But just in a nutshell, a lot of people are very uncomfortable walking in there. And what you just described, I hear this all the time. People remember the silly, insensitive comments that people make, and most of the time it comes from a good place. But
yes.
You still remember 50 years later who said it and what they said.
I do.
No, and I hear this all the time. It's amazing. All the time. I can't believe this guy walks to my house and this is the first comment that comes out of his mouth. And, some people get offended if you say, I'm here for you, I'm there for you. So the first thing is, in Jewish tradition, is you don't start talking. Let them start talking. Could be they want to talk about the dolphin game. Could be they want to talk about the father or mother, how they passed away. Could be they don't want to talk anything at all. So you don't have to dictate the conversation. There's no pressure. You walk in a Jewish tradition, the first thing is you stay quiet until they start talking, and you take their lead. Sometimes the person wants to talk about the death. Sometimes they don't want to talk. And don't ask questions. Say, how they died? Did you hire a good lawyer? Was he wearing a helmet? Did he wear a seatbelt? Did you get a second opinion? All those questions, don't ask. Don't ask the questions. But if you do want to say something, you could talk about the person, how the person lived their life. If they were a teacher, your mother was such a great teacher, the way she taught the class. Say things about the person, how they lived their life. If you have nothing to say, or not if you have nothing to say, the best thing to do is talk about how the person lived his life. I used to work with him. He was a desk right next to me. And every morning he would always come with a coffee, and he was such a jolly guy, and I loved spending time with him. That's what you focus on. Don't talk about how they passed away. Don't tell him he's in a better place. Don't say the Lord knows what he's doing. People don't want to hear that. The rabbis tell us, don't even try to comfort someone when they're like, when I was at Surfside, I wasn't telling people, oh, he's going to come out, have faith in God. I just stood there with them. We're here with you. The first responders are working hard to get them out. We're praying, God give you the strength. And there's not much you could say. I didn't give them false hope. So that's really what you say. If you have to call someone up, you walk into the house and you give them a big hug. You say, I miss you. I just want to give you a hug. I just want to be standing here with you. That's it. There's nothing else to say. And appreciate that. And then could I go get you a drink and be there for them?
And just like the doctor, when he put his hand on my shoulder, it was like, okay, all right. It was just like that. Some of these significant events, which seem so small, can really make a big difference.
And also, don't make up stories about, this is a joke. They say, this guy goes to the funeral home, and he says, hey, where's Mr. Cohen's funeral? So I don't know why, but we always pick on Mr. Cohen. So they say, go to that room. That's what Mr. Cohen's funeral is. It was a big funeral home, a lot of different funerals. He goes into the room. 10 minutes later, he goes out. He says, no, I need Mr. Cohen's funeral. He says, that room. He says, listen, I heard the way they're talking about this guy. I knew Mr. Cohen. That's not Mr. Cohen's funeral. So the same thing is also, don't make up stories about the person too, because the family knows that. Oh, he was such a great family man. He was such a charitable person. Say the truth. There's good things to say about people, right?
Yes. So here we are. We're about done with our time, but I would like you to look right into a camera and talk to some young person about their future, all right, and what it looks like or could look like for them. Which cameras, Andre, should he look into? The red one right there.
The camera?
That one right there.
If you woke up this morning and God gave you back your soul, means you have a reason and you have a purpose. And if you didn't have a reason, you didn't have a purpose for your life, you wouldn't be waking up today. And the question we always ask ourselves is, how could I make a difference in my life, and how can I make a difference in somebody else's life? Michael shared some beautiful stories about literally going and giving someone a gift, or sending someone a text and saying, I'm thinking about them, or doing a special prayer between you and God, or studying something of our tradition, or studying something of the Bible. Do something that's significant. And what's going to do for you, it's going to make you feel better about yourself. And what it's also going to do is going to trigger for you to do even more later on. So don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect situation. Get up now, send a text to someone, reach out to a family member, make up with someone that that you're having issues with. Do something positive, and you'll see not only is it going to affect this moment, but it's going to affect many, many moments live further. And remember, as I said before, if you're in this world and God gave you back your soul into your body, it means because you're important, you're counted, and you need it. So go get it.
Well, folks, again, Rabbi Yossi Harlig from the Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest in the Friendship Circle. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure again.
And Andres, thank you for producing the show. Folks, have a great afternoon and take care of yourselves.
Be well.